The most famous trophy in football history was stolen. Not once, but twice. The first time, it vanished from under armed guard just months before the World Cup. The police had nothing. And then it was found. Not by a detective, not by a spy, but by a dog. And before all of that, it survived the Nazis, hidden inside a shoebox. This is the unbelievable true story of the Jules Rimet Trophy and how the greatest prize in sport vanished forever. To understand the thefts, you first have to understand the trophy. In the 1920s, a Frenchman named Jules Rimet had a wild idea, a tournament where every nation on Earth could compete for a single prize. In 1930, the first World Cup kicked off in Uruguay, and that prize was a small statue of solid gold, the goddess of victory, holding a cup above her head. Just 35 centimeters tall, pure gold. It was sculpted by a French artist named Abel Lafleur, modeled on Nike, the winged goddess of victory from ancient Greece. At first, it was simply called Victory, but in 1946, it was renamed to honor the man behind the whole idea, the Jules Rimet Trophy. To reach that very first tournament in 1930, the trophy had crossed the Atlantic Ocean by steamship, carried personally by Rimet, tucked away in his own luggage. Over the decades, it became the most precious object in the sport. Nations bled on the pitch for the right to lift it. But the trophy's most dangerous moment did not come on a football field. It came in a world war. When the Second World War swept across Europe, the trophy was in Italy, the reigning champions. As the Nazis occupied the country, they were known to seize anything valuable, and a statue of solid gold was exactly the kind of prize they hunted. So an Italian football official named Ottorino Barassi did something remarkable. He quietly took the trophy out of its bank vault and he hid it, in a shoebox, under his own bed. For the rest of the war, the most valuable object in football sat in a cardboard box in a bedroom in Rome, while soldiers searched the country around it. It survived, untouched. But the danger was far from over. It's March 1966. England will host the World Cup in a few months, and the country is bursting with pride. To celebrate, the trophy goes on public display in central London, guarded around the clock. Then, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, while a church service is being held in the very same building, it's gone. Lifted straight out of its case, the guards saw nothing. England, the proud host nation, had lost the World Cup trophy before the World Cup had even begun. It was a national humiliation. Then came the ransom note, pay £15,000, or the trophy is melted down. The police set a trap and arrested a man named Edward Betchley. But Betchley swore he was only a middleman, working for a mysterious figure he called simply the Pole. The real mastermind was never found, and the trophy was still missing. Now, here is where the story turns from a crime thriller into something almost unbelievable. 1 week after the theft, a man named David Corbett took his dog out for an evening walk in South London. The dog, a black and white collie named Pickles, suddenly froze, sniffing at a bush beside a garden wall. Corbett looked down. Wrapped tightly in newspaper, bound with string, was a heavy package. He tore it open. And staring back at him was the golden goddess of victory. Pickles, the dog, had found the World Cup. Overnight, Pickles became a national hero. He won a medal. He starred in a film. He was named Dog of the Year. And his owner received a reward of £6,000, 6 times more than each England player would earn for actually winning the tournament. A dog had succeeded where all of Scotland Yard had failed. But Pickles' story would end in tragedy. Just a year later, while chasing a cat, his lead caught on a fallen branch, and the little dog who saved the World Cup was gone. A few months after the recovery, England lifted that very trophy as world champions for the first, and so far the only, time in their history. The golden goddess, very nearly lost forever, was raised in front of the entire world. It was the perfect ending. But the story of the Jules Rimet Trophy was only halfway told. There was a rule written into the competition from the very start. Any nation that won the World Cup 3 times would earn the right to keep the trophy forever. And in 1970 in Mexico, a Brazil side led by Pelé, a team many still call the greatest of all time, won their 3rd title. The Jules Rimet Trophy was theirs, for good. They carried the golden goddess home to Rio de Janeiro and placed her on display, behind what everyone believed was bulletproof glass. They were certain she was safe forever. They were wrong. December 1983, Rio de Janeiro. Thieves broke into the headquarters of the Brazilian Football Confederation in the dead of night. That bulletproof glass? It turned out to be ordinary glass in a wooden frame. They lifted the trophy and vanished into the dark. This time, there was no dog, no newspaper bundle under a bush, no happy ending. Several men were eventually convicted, but the trophy was never seen again. The leading theory is grim. The solid gold goddess was melted down and sold off piece by piece. The most precious prize in football simply erased from existence. But the story of the original has one final strange twist. Back in 1966, after that first theft, the English Football Association had quietly made a replica of the trophy, just to be safe. For years, that copy was used for public displays, while the real one stayed locked away. Then, in 1997, the English replica came up for auction, and FIFA bought it for over £250,000. But when experts finally examined it up close, they found something astonishing. The replica was not made of bronze, as everyone had assumed. It was made of gold. And that detail raised a question that has never truly been put to rest. Were the trophies ever switched? Could the one stolen and melted down in Brazil have been the copy, while the real golden goddess survives, hidden away to this very day? No one knows. So what is left today? The trophy you see Messi and Mbappé lift is a completely different one, designed in 1974. The original Jules Rimet is gone. And here is a final quiet twist. Even now, no champion is allowed to truly keep the World Cup. The moment the celebrations end, FIFA takes the trophy back and hands the winners a gold-plated replica instead. Since that Brazil team in 1970, not a single nation has been permitted to keep football's greatest prize. And the one team that ever did had theirs stolen and melted into nothing. What survives is the legend, a French dreamer's golden goddess, a shoebox that outsmarted an army, a theft that shamed a nation, a collie named Pickles, and a final disappearance that was never, ever solved. Somewhere, perhaps, that gold still exists, melted into something no one would ever recognize. Or perhaps it is simply gone. The greatest prize in football survived a war, found by a dog, and lost to history. If you learned something today, this is a whole series, The Hidden History Behind the Game. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.